music. It's 9 o'clock on this Monday night.
Yes, we are back, my friend.
We are back. This is the Live Zone Prime
We
Time.
made it through the snowstorm. We made it.
That's Tony P. I'm producer Chris. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching on Fox Local or Fox 5 DC's YouTube page. We did make it through the snow.
We did. I mean, I got to tell you, it wasn't as bad as I thought, but it was interesting. I was in Bethesda this weekend hanging out with some friends, and last night I walk out of my poker game. I did pretty well, by the way. I'm getting better. I'm learning how to take not so crappy
Tony
hands
P,
and be better with them.
Who were you playing poker with?
I'm not going to say who, you know.
Name names, buddy.
They're a
Name
rival
names.
of ours. Can I say that? They're a rival of ours.
This guy.
No.
This guy.
Stop.
With his key card here at Fox 5.
Oh, come on.
Is in bed with the enemy.
I am not in
They're
bed
not
with...
the enemy.
Yes.
I'm gonna name names. Can I name names?
Yes, you can.
Doug Kammerer from NBC.
I played some poker with him.
We
and
all
by the way,
in the media
he was
get
one.
along, but Tony
He was
P-
one of a group, okay? And we all played it. I have a reputation of being a guy that kind of takes a crappy hand and tries to do too much with it. I'm learning how now, thanks to our friend Corey Zarnock, producer here at Fox, is teaching me how to, when I have a decent hand versus a really bad hand, when to actually go for it, which hands can be really, really great and know the odds and all that. So he's been teaching me a ton of knowledge.
Does this for real.
Yes.
So if you were going
World
to take
Series of
lessons
Poker.
from anyone,
He's the best.
We
So he advised me on this. Now, to get to my story, to land said plane, which I'm not really good at here at Fox, one thing I'm working on, is landing the plane. And to land this plane, right, there we go. I was walking outside after we played our game, and I did pretty well. I was pretty confident. But then I walked out and saw this wet snow. It was accumulating in Bethesda right here pretty rapidly. Then when we got off the train from Bethesda to Judiciary Square, Judiciary Point, Judiciary Square, it was nothing, just rain.
Yeah, DC didn't
So
get
it didn't get a
quite
lot. So
as
it was,
much
I
as
saw a
lot of-
little bit of it and I got some
Tony P,
mini
we're going to
stuff
talk
too.
all about the weather coming up here in just a second. First, though, we
what we're
do
doing
want to
is-
get to a little bit of breaking news that we are following out of Fairfax County, Virginia tonight. This is a death investigation. You can see this is a live picture from our team out there right now. Officers investigating the death of a woman in the Hybla Valley area. This is a live look, like I said, at Richmond Highway and Arlington Drive. Wow. Police say the victim was found with trauma to her upper body. It's unclear exactly how she died. Right now, Fairfax County Police are calling this a death investigation. Like I mentioned, we're working to learn more information. We'll have updates at 10 o'clock right here on Fox Local. But you can see a lot of flashing lights out there on that scene. Our assignment editor, Bill, is standing next to us. Bill, any updates that you know of right now?
You got it all.
Road closures?
No, we don't have any updates on road closures.
Okay.
Nothing.
Well, we will have an update for you coming up at
Absolutely
10
tragic.
o'clock right here on Fox Local. But we'll stay on top of this. Any new developments, we will bring them to you as we get them.
Just, I mean, again, just prayers to the family of the victim there. Just absolutely awful. I mean, it's just, I mean, again, we pray that, the investigation goes well and that the people that did this are brought to justice. This is just awful.
Yeah, so a bummer way to start the evening, as you can imagine.
No, it was important that we be
If
getting
things
the
are
live stuff
happening,
out there.
Of course, that is our top priority, is to bring
Yep.
you live events as they happen. All right, now we
Absolutely.
can talk a little bit more about the snow, though, of course,
Yes.
because like you said, it was one of those forecasts that, it kind of came in late. Mike Thomas will be the first to admit, they were keeping an eye on all those different types of models.
Right.
They made the call for 3 to 6, but it was very dependent on where you were here in the DMV.
Yeah, those
And
bands that he talked about. I remember hearing the bands discussion on Friday night.
Tony P, is it
Different
true that
bands
bands
are
will
there.
make you dance?
I knew when I said that, I'm like, that's gonna come up at some level, and you did. Ugh.
And I did.
I know you all too well
I'm
by
not
now.
sorry either. This is
I know you're
Skyfox's
not.
drone video in Virginia, Northern Virginia, showing, that was one area that got a little bit of snow,
Yeah, a little bit.
obviously. Like Tony P mentioned, downtown DC, it was wetter, it was slushier type of a thing. But, it was a cleanup day across the DC region. Stand by 1 second. Bill, what's up?
There will be a presser in about a half hour. The scene you just saw, you'll take it live.
Yes, we will. All right, so our update from our assignment editor, Bill Glasser, there will be a press conference in regards to that death investigation in Hybla Valley. When that happens, we will bring it to you live. Bill tells us that's going to happen in about 30 minutes or so. So we'll keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, back here, taking a look at some of that drone video. Some of those wet sidewalks in Virginia neighborhoods are working to dig out, pick up the downed trees. That was the one thing, Tony P. This was a wet, heavy snow.
Yes.
The people who did get it. So that meant some tree limbs and some wires down.
Very
A
much
lot of people
so.
out in Reston today shoveling while the sun and temperatures were up. That helped, obviously. The roads were in pretty good shape. The drone video shows some playgrounds covered in snow. We saw that, but thankfully many neighborhood streets were clear. The fact that the temperatures drop when the sun goes down means that some of that melted snow could get icy.
Could be icy,
which
who
could
knows?
be
Or black
dangerous,
ice, which
but
is even worse.
hopefully no major issues. The other big thing, this is video in Maryland now, but Maryland, most schools back open tomorrow, especially including in Montgomery County. Montgomery County is where we have paid a lot of attention to some of these school issues, though.
Yeah.
These snow days. Because another snow day means another makeup day. Montgomery County school officials announced today they've added an early release day on June 26th. That is a Friday, Tony P.
Ooh.
June 24th, which was supposed to be an early release day, will now be a full day.
Yeah.
Now, here's why this is a big deal. Because that June 26th early release day, we used to just call them half days.
Right. No work days.
Yeah, right?
For the mafia, no work jobs.
Exactly. That's a Friday, okay?
Yeah.
So if they need to add any more, if we get more snow, more winter weather, and they need to add more days, now we're talking Monday. Monday is June 29th.
That's close.
June 29th, that Monday, that next weekend, we're talking July 4th. So we're talking
Yes.
almost going to school until July.
It's crazy.
In Montgomery County. So we talked to Alex Soronis from the MoCo show about this last night. He said he cannot remember any time because the new school year technically starts in July. So
What?
Yeah, exactly. So he said he remembers from when he was younger and in school, and they had to make up a lot of time. They started adding 30 minutes to each day.
That's what
to
I-
try to add.
that's
some
what I said they
instruction
should
time.
do.
Yeah. So
And I got buzzed out
it's
for
definitely
it.
been done before, but it's possible we could
Yeah.
see them having to take some additional measures to
Yeah.
make up for this lost learning time. Now, while we did get snow, and you can see people out there shoveling
bit.
it, and Tony P didn't get as much, the Northeast did take a direct hit,
Oh,
and they
yes.
were dealing with some blizzard-like conditions. Fox News correspondent CB Cotton has more from the Big Apple. Take a listen.
Snow across the Northeast already being measured in feet as this blizzard continues to pummel the region, and officials have warned that dangerous conditions are expected through the evening.
Stay inside. Get off the roads tonight. In our last storm, I said don't travel if you don't have to. Now I'm just saying don't travel tonight.
Many transit systems, schools, and businesses shutting down for the day. And in hard-hit areas like New York City and New Jersey, travel bans were in effect, with many areas experiencing near whiteout conditions.
I'm imploring New Yorkers to stay off the roads. The fewer passenger and commercial vehicles need to be assisted, the quicker we can respond to plows and emergency vehicles.
The heavy and dense snow, combined with high winds of up to 60 miles per hour, have also left more than 600,000 without power. And at airports, many travelers have been left stranded, with more than 10,000 flights canceled nationwide and nearly 2,000 already called off for Tuesday.
I need to get back to Miami. I got to make it back to school. I can't miss a day. I got to get back.
Still, many were out enjoying the winter wonderland, including in New York's Central Park and Times Square.
We've been dancing in Times Square this morning in the middle of the road in rush hour. Just dancing and not believing we could do it.
In addition to plows here in the Big Apple, officials also recruited people to help shovel, with some beginning last night. In New York City, CB Cotton, Fox News.
Tony P, I know you have family up in
Yes,
New
I
England.
do.
How did they make out?
They
in
got
this
about
weather?
they got about a foot and a half of snow up in the Boston area. Like, so
Okay, yeah.
about 10 to about 14 inches roughly,
Yeah.
actually. But some people in the Mass area and Connecticut, they got a foot and a half of snow. Unbelievable. It was whipping winds. It was the power lines were down. It was crazy out there overall.
Yeah,
It was
no question.
It was so rough. And I got to tell you, it's one of those storms where, I mean, folks back home, it's going to be a couple of weeks to get that stuff out of there, because you think it's bad here sometimes. Think of it up in the Boston area, where it's
I
still
got
cold.
family up in the Philly area. And
How much did they get?
They got about a foot, so they definitely got way more than we did here. I don't know if they had those same blizzard-like conditions, but I do know
Yeah.
my brother, he had a tree fall in his backyard, so he's dealing with a major headache
My
there
God.
as a result. All right, Tony.
Well, we also
I
got a
know
lot of
it's little
stories.
early, but let's
No,
get to
listen,
what
I am
else
honored. Within the
you
first
were
10
keeping an eye
minutes.
on this Monday evening /
Yes,
afternoon.
and the first stories we're going to start in the international sphere. So Mexican security officials warned violence could escalate after the army killed a senior operational leader tied to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of Mexico's most powerful criminal organizations. The confrontation happened during a military operation targeting cartel strongholds in western Mexico, and authorities said the cartel controls major fentanyl and methamphetamine trafficking routes into the United States and has historically responded to leadership losses with coordinated attacks, road blockades, and arson targeting public infrastructure. Federal forces have increased patrols across multiple states amid fears of retaliation, and U.S. officials have warned tourists in Mexico in the areas affected to shelter in place at this time until federal officials in Mexico have things under control. In Britain, the Epstein investigation reached senior political ranks again after former U.S. ambassador to the, former British ambassador to the U.S., Peter Mandelson was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Investigators searched properties connected to Mandelson while reviewing allegations that during his time as Britain's business secretary, he shared sensitive government information with Jeffrey Epstein. Authorities are examining communications suggesting Mandelson may have disclosed advanced knowledge of major European financial policy decisions that could have carried market value. Mandelson denies criminal wrongdoing, but stepped away from parliamentary duties as well as the ambassadorship dealing with these investigations, of course, once he was named in the Epstein files. So, again, the second arrest of a British official on this issue in the last week. On Capitol Hill, House Democrats announced several Jeffrey Epstein survivors will attend President Trump's upcoming State of the Union address as official congressional guests. Lawmakers said the move is intended to highlight survivor testimony and increase pressure for the release of additional related Epstein investigative materials that remain partially sealed. Survivors invited previously testified publicly about trafficking allegations and continue to advocate for expanded federal transparency. A whistleblower complaint raised concerns today about immigration and customs enforcement training standards as the agency expands hiring. Internal documents allege reductions in hands-on field exercises and accelerated graduation timelines intended to move recruits into enforcement roles faster. The complaint warned shortened preparation could affect officer readiness during high-risk encounters, and Homeland Security officials have rejected the allegations and said that recruits still complete firearms instruction, constitutional law training, and supervised field evaluations before deployment. President Trump's trade agenda is facing continued uncertainty after the Supreme Court rejected key elements of his tariff authority. Following the decision, Trump is directing advisors currently to develop new legal strategies to preserve tariffs central to his economic policy. Officials are now examining alternative statutes tied to national security and unfair trade practices that could allow narrower import duties to continue. The administration is also considering seeking congressional authorization to restore portions of the tariff framework, which previously generated tens of billions of dollars in federal revenue. In the world of cryptocurrency and foreign policy, Binance dismissed several members of its internal investigations team after those employees uncovered transactions linked to Iranian entities moving through the exchange. Internal reviews identified more than $1 billion in transfers routed largely through stablecoin payments, raising sanctions compliance concerns, and the fired investigators argued enforcement controls were insufficient, while Binance disputes the characterization and says it maintains strict compliance policies. Technology markets also turned volatile today as investors reassessed artificial intelligence spending expectations. Cybersecurity and software companies declined during a broader sell-off as analysts questioned whether massive infrastructure investments require more work for advanced AI systems will translate into near-term profits against some of these entities. The shifts reflected growing caution after months of rapid AI-driven stock gains. A big thing to think about with cybersecurity and AI. At the BAFTA awards ceremony, a racial slur was heard from the live broadcast while actors on stage from the film Sinners were presenting an award. Organizers determined the outburst came from an audience member with Tourette's syndrome whose vocal tic caused an involuntary utterance. Producers at the BBC issued an apology and began reviewing broadcast delay procedures after the moment spread widely online. In Los Angeles, Nick Reiner appeared in court today and entered a not guilty plea after being charged with murdering his parents, filmmaker Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner. Prosecutors filed 2 counts of murder along with a weapons enhancement allegation. Authorities said both victims died from multiple sharp force injuries, and investigators continue examining family conflicts and events leading up to the killings as the case moves towards preliminary hearings. And finally, for our Black History Month spotlight of the day, this comes from the Olympics as we close out the Olympics on Sunday, Chris. Layla Edwards made history at the 2026 Winter Olympics, becoming the first black woman to win Olympic gold with Team USA in women's hockey. The 22-year-old forward helped lead the United States to a gold medal victory over Canada, marking a major milestone for representation in a sport where black women have long been underrepresented and inspiring a new generation of players to take the ice as well. And also, her parents were flown in to watch her through a GoFundMe page that was set up by a lot of athletes, including Travis and Jason Kelsey. So some really awesome stuff. And the women's team making history, the 3rd gold medal in 28 years.
Yeah, and I just want to say that Baptist story is awful for so
Awful.
many reasons. Awful for so many reasons for Michael B. Jordan and
Yes.
Delroy Lindo. Also, it wasn't just an audience member. It was someone who was the subject of a movie about Tourette syndrome.
Yes.
So he was, unfortunately, the movie, it was all about exactly what then just happened and just the experience. So I just feel
awful.
For everyone involved.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and I think,
there's no good.
There's no, you can't. And I think overall, though, I mean, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, they
handled it with
handled
grace
so well.
and class, but I can't imagine
how
what they
awful
must
that
have
is.
felt in that moment.
It's
And so-
dehumanizing. It's one of the
No
worst words
question.
in the dictionary
So
that's used against
it's
someone
going to be one
in
of
that
those
moment.
stories we're going to hear a lot more about.
And shame on the BBC for airing
editing it out.
not editing
They
it
had
out.
time to,
They
and they
aired it,
didn't.
and they also took out a lot of the actors.
Free Palestine line.
Yeah, they took
out a
that
Free
out.
Palestine line, but they didn't take out.
Right, and they
that.
again they didn't let actors talk, but again, when a racial slur is uttered, they put that in there. Again, absolutely disgusting. And props to Michael B. Jordan.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to leave you with this live picture from Hybla Valley. We are still standing by for an update. We're expecting that coming up here in the next 15 minutes or so. When we come back, Tony P. talking to the chief
legal and global affairs officer at LinkedIn about a
the
major
future
report.
of AI in the
A
workforce.
huge report. You don't want to miss it. A lot of insights.
We're going to be right back. Welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime. Still taking that live look from Fairfax County, the Hybla Valley area, where officers responded to reports of a death, a person with trauma to the body. We are standing by for an update. We expect that coming up here in a few minutes. In the meantime, though, I want to turn it over to Tony P. with a huge new report out today, Tony.
Yes, a major report about, of course, AI. And one of the biggest things I'm hearing across social media and around the world is fear about job loss and potentially having displacement for so many people, white-collar and blue-collar workers alike. I spoke, though, with LinkedIn's Chief Global Affairs and Legal Officer, Blake Lott, to talk about a new report that LinkedIn released that may have some surprising findings for all of you about the future of work, even with AI coming into the picture. One of the major conversations around AI these days is about the job market. Will it disrupt it, or will it just change things a little bit? Well, we have a guest tonight that's going to be talking all about that and knows so much about AI, the job market, and where we go from here. My guest tonight is Blake Lott, LinkedIn's Chief Global Affairs and Legal Officer. He's going to talk about not only all these things about AI and the job market, but about LinkedIn's newest report on AI titled Skills in AI, the U.S. Workforce Imperative. The report takes a deep dive into how artificial intelligence is reshaping the U.S. economy and labor market, and why building a workforce with the right skills for AI is critical to America's competitiveness and long-term prosperity. Blake, thank you so much for joining me here tonight in the Live Zone Primetime to dive into all of this, from the labor market to this wonderful report from LinkedIn today. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Great to be here, Tony P.
So, you know, there's a lot of conversation and honestly a lot of panic about AI. Will it take jobs? Will it disrupt industries? Is it hurting entry-level jobs, for example? Let me ask you this. From, you know, all of the data that you've seen from this LinkedIn report, it looks like the data shows the opposite of that potentially, and some friction with some of those panics. So let me ask you this. Is this data telling us that jobs will be totally replaced and disrupted, or will it just be minor changes and more skills-based transition?
So look, Tony, nobody really knows everything about the future. But what we have at LinkedIn is we have an amazing representation digitally of the world's economy and the U.S. economy. People come on there, they put their profiles up, they show what they do, they have their jobs, they have their skills, they have this amazing picture, this snapshot of digitally what the U.S. economy looks like. And everybody's wondering, what does that look like for AI and jobs? And I can't tell you everything about the future, but I can tell you we have done some analysis on what we see on our data based on the jobs that are out there, how people are updating their profile, to try and tackle what we see on what those impacts have been to AI in the job market so far. And so far, what we're seeing is actually a lot less impact than you're hearing in other places out there right now. We're seeing, yes, some of the hiring has been a little bit slower than it has been historically, but it seems to be more correlated to macro and economic things, like interest rates going up. That's maybe slowed the job market. But when we look and we compare, for instance, are people in entry-level jobs actually getting hired at a lower rate than people more senior? The answer, no. Are areas that you might expect that, and some people are saying, are they going to be the first to be impacted by AI? Are those job areas, whether it's marketing, administration, media, Tony P, some other places, are those being impacted yet? Not yet in our data, because the hiring rate seems to be the same. Now, that's just the past. We don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but we think it's important to look at our data to help inform people about what is actually going out that we can see on right now. And the answer for now, not yet.
At basically the whole, like, all the data, and at that kind of, you know, micro level, are there some things in the job market that may surprise people that is beyond what we're talking about in the mainstream from displacement or skill changes? Or there's some other surprises that U.S. workers and businesses can take from this?
Well, one key thing about it is what we try and tell people to really focus on is skills. Look, these are the things that you control. If you're out there, people always think about if you think about every job, every job is going to be set up of a series of tasks. What do you need to do those tasks? A set of skills. Maybe a very special, particular set of skills like Liam Neeson, maybe not. But you're looking at those skills that you need to do the job. That's what we focus on here at LinkedIn. And what we've seen is over the last several years, the skills that you need to do the job are changing. And the average role, 25% over the last several years, and we're projecting that to be 70%. 70% of the skills that you'll need to do a job will change by 2030. So what does that mean? That means even if you're not changing jobs, your job's changing on you. So how do we embrace a growth mindset and upskill ourselves And part of that's just getting out there and trying to use these new AI tools, among other things.
That's really interesting. And also the report makes clear from what I read that the biggest challenge isn't the lack of jobs from AI, but potentially the mismatch between the skills and the opportunities. So for someone watching at home tonight, how can they actually identify which skills they should be learning right now from a process perspective?
Well, the first thing that I'd say from a process perspective is just try. That growth mindset. There's these tools out there, that you can get them on your browser, you can download it, if it's ChatGPT, if it's Copilot, just these basic things, and just start messing around. Like the biggest challenge, and even for myself, like, I'm a Gen Xer, I'm not there's people who are out there that are younger than me, and I'm not like, I sometimes get a little afraid of change, but I'm getting out there and I'm trying and I'm messing around and I'm seeing what works. So the biggest thing is just start and don't be afraid and just start messing around. And the other thing is, one of the sort of paradoxical things that's out there when it comes to the skills that you need in the new AI world, they're not always what you think, because some things that are not going away, it's the skills around those human skills, right?
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence, empathy, communication. I call them, on this show, I call them the Tony P skills, right? Because
I did not tell him to say that, by the way, just so people know. I did not tell you to say that.
The check's in the mail, says Tony P.
Oh, my goodness.
These are the things that are out there. They make you, like, again, everybody's technology in some way, if you are willing to embrace it a little bit, it's going to be a great leveler. And then the question is, the people who are really going to succeed are the people who have that emotional intelligence, those human skills, communication, judgment, and really like a willingness and openness to change and innovation.
Now, when looking at these kind of skill buckets, we look at things like creativity, for example, and then productivity. Are there a certain kind of batch of skills that people should focus on first to get ahead? Because again, we know the economy is all about who gets there first. So should they be emphasizing new skills to enhance creativity and those softer skills, or looking for the coding and the process and productivity so that they can be more creative, basically?
Well, everybody thinks it's all about the technical skills. They all think it's about coding and machine learning, and I got to learn Python and et cetera. But actually, the way the technology is going, you're not going to need to do that. The technology is going to do that for you. The way that you are going to sort of get out and get ahead is actually by like exercising your creative muscles. It's there for you. Like, basically, if you're ready to innovate and you get out there and try, it's there for you. The biggest problem is going to be getting over all of our own fear about what's changing and just trying something new.
So you talked about the reshaping of tasks as opposed to the entire profession. So how can workers think about using AI as kind of gaining a career advantage versus always, viewing it as a competition? Because again, this could lead to potential, redundancies. And how can they leverage this as working together as opposed to against one another?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, what you can control out there is you can't control everything out there. You can't control the whole world. You can't control, look, you open your phone, there's a million things going on every day.
Right.
My advice, stay focused. Set small tasks.
Like that.
Set achievable goals. Don't try and do everything at once. And just, open the app and try it. If you do, you're already going to be ahead of a lot of folks. And then the more time you spend, the better off you're going to be.
One of the most interesting findings that I found from reading the report was that AI could potentially make career pivots a lot easier and with less friction. So with these new tools in place and the ones that are growing in the future, what does a realistic career pivot look like for workers and a timeline, or from a skills perspective, in the coming years?
So I was talking to Jay Obernolte, who is we're in D.C., so congressman from California 23rd District. He was the chair of the House AI Task Force. One thing he said to me is, the average person is now going to have 3 careers in their lifetime.
Wow.
Not 3 jobs, 3 careers, right? So what does that mean again? I'm sounding like a broken record, but openness to change. Right?
Yeah.
We don't know everything. We don't know all of the future. But if we train ourselves, and mostly I'm talking about changing our mindset to be open, to try, those things are going to come through.
And speaking of being here in D.C., you have been talking to lawmakers and really trying to, help them understand and have that good dialogue about AI and its impact. What are you hearing from Capitol Hill and parts of Washington about the hopes as well as some of the concerns as we try to make these pivots?
Yeah, like, look, from a worker standpoint, every politician cares about helping people find jobs.
Right.
And so when there's the possibility that there's going to be change and disruption, they want to figure out what's the best way I can guide my constituents through that. That's the thing they care about. And so then really it comes down, if you look at the report right now, we can see the U.S. is leading in a bunch of places, right? We're leading when it comes to frontier technology. We're leading when it comes to infrastructure. By our report shows that over 1 million jobs, 1.3 million jobs globally have been created relating to AI. About half of those are in the United States. So there's a lot of job creation going on there. Where we need to do better is skills. And so, because right now we're 24th on AI adoption compared to other countries, behind Singapore and a whole bunch of other countries. So this is why I keep harping, just try it. Just roll up your sleeves. Just, mess around with ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude or any of these things. And don't just be like, that's another thing to do. I mean, it is another thing to do. We got a lot of things to do, but it's going to be worth your time.
As part of your role, of course, a big part is global affairs and dealing, with other companies, dealing with, lawmakers. How can governments here in the United States and companies start to help workers just try it and help build those skills? Because a lot of people, whether they, especially older generations who remember the tech boom of the 90s and early 2000s, the biggest concern was there was never enough resources put into that upskilling. So what can companies and governments get right this time in the States so that workers are ready and are not left out in the cold post this AI revolution?
Well, first, I have to say I've got a problem with you talking about older generations remembering the 90s as a Gen Xer.
All right, more seasoned. How about that? Or even,
okay,
I'll say even more wiser.
I accept that, Tony.
All right, thank you.
But so then what I would say is like 3 things. Teach, train, measure, right? So right now we have folks going to school and they're learning a lot. AI curriculum needs to be a part of what we're doing in school and teaching those skills in our community colleges, in our 4 universities, in our K through 12. It needs to become a part of the curriculum and something that people are familiar with. And again, just encouraging people to use it. Train. We already have a whole bunch of federal programs that we use to support employers who are doing training on the job. This needs to be a part of that curriculum. There's a whole bunch of we have detailed policy proposal in our AI report that you can check out. And finally, measure. We got to do our bit to understand and look at the economy more broadly, how we're doing at LinkedIn and other places to understand what the trends are. And then how do we measure ourselves? When we have those skills, how do we show them and so they turn up on our LinkedIn profile, so then we can become more employable. So we measure it. And there's a bunch of things that LinkedIn's doing in that spot. But overall, teach, train, measure.
And as I read the report, one of the kind of through lines, if you will, that I saw was potentially this could lead to a revolution in how we credential workers, college versus non-college degrees, and getting people into careers in a fast way and then helping them get promoted. So based on your research and just your view of the market, how can AI really start to change the credentialing process and help a lot of individuals who may not have had the resources to go to college really start to have those long, fulfilling careers where they can increase their wages and their productivity?
Yeah. So again, at LinkedIn, we really think we want to shift the mindset of employers in particular to move and looking beyond just sort of degrees and where you worked before to really be looking about skills, that particular set of skills that we're talking about. Because degrees, employers look at degrees and they look at like where you went to school, and that's just kind of like a lazy way of trying to figure out how good you might be at the job. Because a degree is nice, don't get me wrong, but what you need to do the job is skills. So what we're trying to do on the platform is make it easier for you to show the skills that you have by doing credentialing on the platform, by doing things like verified skills in the AI space, where if you're using AI tools, it can automatically show up and be a proof point on the platform to make it easier for when recruiters are out there looking for talent. We have search facets, so they're searching by skills and not just degrees and titles, up 45% year over year, just by making changes in how we do that in our product flow. And we're just betting on skills because that's what matters.
Is this going to require, from the corporate perspective, a change in like their entire processes, or just kind of a different growth mindset, just kind of a general vision of how they look at employees?
Both.
Interesting.
Both is the answer.
Interesting.
But as with most things, Tony, like the biggest challenge is not necessarily the tools; it's changing how people think.
Interesting. Because like for me, I think about. Sadly, there was over the last 30, 40 years this whole thing about college first, and it is important, and you learn a lot of skills from it, but I definitely agree with you. I think there needs to be that kind of just subliminal mind shift, too, because a lot of it is 30, 40 years of information being told to us, right?
100%. And don't get me wrong, you can learn a lot in college.
Of course.
And one of the things you're learning technical skills. You're also learning those human skills. That's the things that I learned the most. I mean, probably from spending too much time like playing poker in my dorm room. But that was in part the way that I built relationships that matter and for a long time in the way that matters on the LinkedIn side, but also like learn how to relate to people, talk like a human, have some emotional intelligence, and that was mostly by getting over my losses when I would lose in the poker table.
That's understandable.
But still, all of these are valuable skills that happen at a college in addition from whether or not you aced your literature final.
If you were to talk to someone out there that is really anxious about AI, doesn't fully know what the future could be for them, what would be the most hopeful takeaway from this study and from your overall research that LinkedIn has done for years on this that could help them feel more at ease and really lean into this next chapter?
I guess what I'd say is nobody else knows what they're doing here either. So you're on an equal playing field. Nobody knows what the future is going to hold. Right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean if you have if you have a positive attitude, if you are open to change, if you are going to embrace these things, even though it's scary.
Yeah.
Like you can do this. We can do this as a country because more and more, I got to tell you, what's going to matter is as the tools get better and better, the thing that's going to be the limiting principle is how creative, innovative, and how much people are willing to dream. And as a country, that's where we've exceeded. We have we've pushed it to the world in democracy. We've done a thing where we've led in a whole bunch of areas of technology, and it's going to be a thing where it's not just things that people at tech companies can do. It's going to be something that you can do in your pocket on your phone.
Wow.
Soon.
Yeah. And because I think one of the things, whether it be my generation or more seasoned generations, okay, I'm going to use that new term. See, I'll tell you. But one of the things that I see a lot is this resistance to the product that comes out of AI and how it's bad for the environment, or things that it may make creative endeavors a lot kind of lessened, if you will, because you have different photo generation or video. When looking at those headwinds, how do you think AI providers, ones that teach these skills, and governments and companies generally need to approach this in engaging with these issues and concerns? Because they're real across, whether you see them on social media, a lot on LinkedIn, you'll see posts about this, there's concern. So how do companies adapt to this and really start to have a dialogue about AI's role?
I think it starts with the companies recognizing that they have an accountability and responsibility to the world that they live in. So that's where it starts. And you've seen that there have been a number of companies, like Microsoft recently made a pledge that basically they're going to pay their share when it comes to electricity costs. So they don't want to be in a situation like we want to provide a way where this AI tool can provide a lot of growth and a lot of help for a lot of folks, but we understand we're not going to be doing it by increasing other people's electricity costs. Other companies have also stepped up in a way that they're going to say, we're going to have pledges with respect to our environmental impact and make sure that when we're doing these things, our data centers are going to be water positive, and that we're going to be limiting what our carbon output is. All of these things, look, this is a real thing, and it starts with hopefully those big companies that are in the center, like Microsoft, Google, et cetera, recognizing, and a number of them have been doing this. Look, we have some accountability here, and when it comes to things like power, and environmental impact, we are going to be responsible citizens on that. And then what I'd say to my friends of a different generation is, like, don't just look at tech on that. Look at all of the choices that you make. And you know, eating a hamburger has got a lot of environmental impact.
It does.
Flying on a plane has a lot of environmental impact.
Yeah.
So what I'd say is also look at, we also start personally in ourselves and how we make choices. And if we care about the planet that we live on and the impact we have, we should hold corporations accountable and then also look in the mirror.
And I promise this is my final technical question for you. So many things you've been saying, I just open up so many new lanes. So the final thing is about the industry. So if there's someone out there who really is starting to learn these items and adjusting their skill set and they want to make those career shifts, what are the industries, based on your reporting and just overall knowledge, which industries should people start to transition into so that they can be totally utilized kind of in the best way as they go forward with their AI journey and their overall learning journey?
So the interesting thing, Tony, is that when it comes to AI skills, they're going to be useful in every industry and every job. Wow. That's just the truth of it. So what I'd start with is, you know, look at what you're passionate about and what you care about. And then you learn the skills, and I promise you, they will be useful whatever you do. Then more technically in the report, there's things like there's a lot of growth right now in data center, frontier models, et cetera, et cetera. But everybody will be like, I don't know if I want to do data centers. Fine, Don't do data centers. Do the thing that you want to do and learn the AI skills, because it's like, trust me, it is a force multiplier for you in your career.
It seems like this new AI revolution is going to be helping not only the ones that have a growth mindset, but the personality hires might be making a comeback and might be
you think so,
they might be forces to be reckoned with. I'll tell you that much.
I'm going to bet on the personality guys here on the Live Zone Primetime.
No, again, not to just make it all about myself and the other more I would say boisterous folks who like to talk for a living, but I had to add that one in there for the personality hires. Blake Lott, thank you so much for just taking us on this journey, going through a deep dive of the new LinkedIn report that was released about AI and the ever-changing workforce, because this is such an important topic for so many viewers and generations across the board as they navigate their careers and their role in the world. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight on the Live Zone Primetime. Have a wonderful rest of your day here in DC.
Thank you, Tony P. It's been a pleasure.
Very interesting report there, Chris. I'll tell you, I really enjoyed that conversation and diving into some of the graphics we have here, which is really cool. So this is from the actual study.
I just need to say one thing.
Yes.
You did a wonderful job making that very approachable.
Thank you.
Because I am the type of person where most of anything, as soon as I hear AI, it just goes.
It does.
So the most reassuring thing I heard during that entire conversation was him saying that everyone is on the same page. This is so new that everyone is on the same page. And thank God, because I already feel so incredibly behind.
Well, it was really interesting too, and we discussed this, on air and then after the interview. The biggest thing was that career shift, that now people that have been wanting to pursue a different part of their life, they want to try a passion, they now have a little bit of a helper to get those skills necessary, or to read some things faster, or get into their hobbies, or feel to study a lot quicker. That was a big thing for me, is that potentially maybe where some more productivity-driven tasks may be taken out by AI, but you can pursue other passions a lot quicker without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on professional education or college for that matter. And some of the graphics from the study were really, really interesting, where the talent share for AI is being spread out. For example, we're seeing a lot, of course, in North America, the United States, also parts of Europe and parts of Northern Africa. Australia are really big kind of hubs for where this AI engineering talent will be to build these things, but also the creative people as well. Then as we look to our next graphic, it's fascinating. The talent shared by different industries. We break this down by marketing, education, financial services, professional services, and the technology sector generally, and that's really interesting as well. Now you're seeing AI is not only potentially helping people transition careers, but is creating and giving new jobs to people, whether it be data annotators, for example. So for folks, that really means taking data and contextualizing it, bringing those more softer skills into data analysis. AI forensic analysis, that's up about 38% to 19,000 openings. Head of AI engineers, forward deployed engineers to actually get these AI data centers and the technical systems that run all these simulations to get them moving as well. And then, of course, data center jobs are way up from construction to the actual application and building out of these major data centers that process so much information. And what's also fascinating, too, is the creative angle. So because of AI and because of a lot of, I think, some of the criticism even with some of AI's work product from a creative perspective, you're seeing a lot of companies now hiring heads of storytelling.
We've talked about that.
We have, and this is very much linked to that, where you're seeing storytelling and creative-minded folks are getting more opportunities at the Apple in the marketing department, comms department, whether it be companies like LinkedIn and Microsoft, or even beverage companies and construction firms are hiring heads of storytelling for social media along with their AI people.
You know, if you're scrolling through your feed and you see something that's, you know, you're more likely to stop on a story and then you realize, oh, I just watched something that had to do with LinkedIn as opposed to just seeing a post about LinkedIn.
Exactly, and the question, again, we have this picture up here of the jobs that will be created by AI. I think the question is going to be, how does that balance out in combination with the career shifts, as well as individuals that may have the same job but get bigger responsibilities, they need more access to bonuses. How does all that even out is the real question, because this can create a lot of jobs potentially on the tech side. The question is, how do you transition those workers?
Yeah, because it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs.
Potentially,
as well,
but again, it looks like from the study, that's not going to be that big of a loss. It's going to be mostly just new opportunities for openings within a given job, or different responsibilities, or shifting tasks. Because the biggest thing that we talked about is that jobs are a series of tasks. And the job may not be over or done with. It just may have different tasks that take place.
All right, walk us through these next slides.
Yeah, of course. So if you look more at this again, this is about the post-pandemic pullbacks and conditions, you know, from different economic factors. And a lot of folks have been saying, Chris, oh, AI is going to make a major impact and kind of restrain the economy because you're going to have less jobs out there. That is not happening here. Overall, we're looking, you know, at the hiring perspective of this. It has nothing to do with AI really that much. It is mostly to do with interest rates, for example, or macroeconomic conditions, post-pandemic considerations. A lot of companies overhired during the pandemic era, in like 2021, 2022, when they had the quote-unquote the Great Resignation, where a lot of people switched jobs a year or two in. So that's mostly the macroeconomic factors there, Chris. So not a lot to do with AI yet. Again, we're still looking to see what that looks like in the future, but all systems go, it looks like right now, for people, you know, in terms of the AI and job impact for now. So I look at it as a reassuring report. Again, I'm cautiously reassured because you never know how technology changes, and the next thing could happen. And we just did the story about the cybersecurity measures. That might be a potential industry where AI comes in. How does that get impacted? What does software mean, right? But I do think we're a couple years into this. The numbers look pretty solid for just kind of the changing of the nature of certain jobs. Maybe you get added responsibilities or new ones you have to learn, but not really a major disruption yet. So again, LinkedIn went so into this. The report came out today for public consumption. You can look it up. You can just type in LinkedIn AI Report 2026, or you can look at it on LinkedIn pages across the country and around the world to find this information and read it for yourself. It's a very easy report to read, well read, well sourced, and also just well written out.
Tony P., thank you for that deep dive into it. We appreciate it very much. In the meantime, we are still standing by for an update on this death investigation that's happening right now in Hybla Valley. You can see the live picture. We've had it up this whole time. Was supposed to get underway around 9:30, obviously not running on time. When it happens, we will bring it to you live. In the meantime, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime. Producer Chris here with Tony P. Keeping that live picture up from Hybla Valley, where we are standing by for an update on the death investigation. If you weren't with us at the top of the hour, a woman found dead. Unclear exactly how she died. This is a live picture from the scene near the intersection of Richmond Highway and Arlington Drive. That's in the Hybla Valley area. The victim apparently had trauma to the upper body. It appears she was found near a bus stop. Right now, police are calling this a death investigation, not a homicide. We are supposed to get an update from police. They told us it was going to be around 9:30. We are still standing by for that in the meantime.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Chris. Based on your experience, and you've been doing this, for much longer than I have. When you look at things like this, where they say a press conference or a meeting is going to happen at a certain time and it gets pushed back, what's usually the cause of that? Is this basically kind of being late, or is there potentially things they have to clean up around the crime scene, or potential developments?
A lot of times it's just, making sure they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's, making sure they have all the information that they can release, and going over what information they choose not to release at any given time too. So it's any number of things. There could be developments. They could have resolve the case, if they were searching for someone in the past.
Right.
So, there are any number of reasons. But if it happens here in the next 9 minutes, of course, we will bring it to you live. Otherwise, we will have updates on Fox 5 News at 10 right here on Fox Local. Tony P, I basically, we covered everything we planned on covering here.
I mean,
we are still standing by for that, obviously. And so we'll keep you,
we could talk about a few things if you want.
What?
We got to talk about the Olympics, I think.
We do need to talk about the Olympics. Okay, let's talk about Team USA.
Yes. So
let's talk about that gold medal game.
Yes. Do you want to go? It's for you.
Okay. I wish you had been here. So when we did Do You Like It or Not a little earlier tonight, our man David from he lives
Denver,
out in
right?
Colorado.
Yeah, Denver, right.
He lives out in the Colorado area.
Big hockey area.
He basically on Friday said that everyone basically needs to. Sorry, Tony P. I put that box directly.
That's fine. I kind of like it.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to this live picture here for a second.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work my magic here behind the scenes. But
yes.
So here's the deal. He basically said this is going to be an amazing game. Everybody needs to watch it. Okay?
Right.
And he was absolutely right. It was an amazing.
It was.
And I hope everyone did watch it.
Oh yeah.
Because it was absolutely incredible. Now look. Can't have that, Tony P.
No, switch it up.
And I know this is a serious situation. I apologize.
Yeah, no, of course.
If it seemed like I'm making light of it.
Oh yeah, no, it was an incredible game. I mean, it was they started out. The U.S. got the first goal. I wasn't up early enough, so I watched the simulcast replay.
My wife woke me up and gave me updates because I did the overnight shift with the baby. And
right.
And then when it went to overtime, she was like, "Get your butt out of bed, come downstairs and watch this."
Nice, you got half and half.
So I did.
Yeah.
So obviously it was like a minute 48. Into sudden death, overtime, Olympic gold medal hockey, which for my money, there is nothing better. I mean, just the thrill, being on the edge of your seat, waiting to see who won.
Well, and it's 3-3, right? There's a 3-3 overtime, which is kind of interesting that they do this now, and I think it's professional hockey too, where they have these quicker overtimes where they do 3-on-3, and they don't want it to last too long. And I think it's great. It keeps the game fast, but. That team, Jack Hughes had a great goal there at the end, of course. I mean, he broke his teeth basically in that game.
Yeah, I mean,
the fact
that he was
very
even still
gritty.
in the game. I loved the tribute to the Goudreau.
Yes, that was a beautiful moment.
Obviously,
with the team was great. I mean, that's what team is about. You bring on, and they had the jersey, and they brought his children on. That was a beautiful moment for the team. One of the moments that's getting talked about, though, of course, is what happened in the locker room.
In the locker room after the game.
Cash Patel.
Direct, politics aside, it's just so interesting because you were talking about the FBI director is the nation's top cop.
Right.
When you think of like the FBI director, you think G-Man,
J.
Edgar Hoover, James Comey. I mean, he was obviously
Robert Mueller, Chris Wray. You think of
buttoned up, exactly, the G-Man, and then Cash Patel in there chugging beers, pounding his chest. So obviously the optics of it for a lot of people, obviously
on taxpayer dollars.
Obviously, it becomes a very political issue, left versus right type of a thing. But
it does.
I just feel bad because anything that takes the spotlight off the team and their accomplishment is unfortunate. But it was one of those things where it begs the question: what the hell did you do to deserve to be in that locker room?
Right, and
you
it's
were not out there on the ice. we don't need you stealing the spotlight and overshadowing their celebrations like you were out there with a stick on skates, contributing in some way, shape,
Well,
or
here's
form.
the problem too. Like, how many, again, maybe some players support him and the president, but there are probably some who don't. And you know what? They had to be kind of thrusted into this kind of political moment where the FBI director is doing this on camera. And again, it's about taxpayer money. That's a big issue too. You have a lot of cases here in the United States, especially with the Epstein files, Savannah Guthrie's mother. You know, you have all these cases that are open. The FBI director should be doing the job
There
as
was
opposed
literally
to
a shooting at Mar-a-Lago.
right. And
The
like
same day.
and so you have those things, and then also I think one of the parts that I don't think is too political was the president did make a very hurtful joke or remark, not even a joke, I call it a remark, saying, well, I have to invite the women's team too to the State of the Union and all the frills of the White House, kind of saying it as an afterthought. And the way he said it was basically saying, hey, they're less, basically, I have to invite them or I'll get impeached. And it's like, the women's team, as I said at the rundown, they've won 3 titles in 28 years. This is the first one for the men's in 46. It's a great win. I'm so proud of the guys. They did a great job. But you know what? Making the joke, and then some of the guys were laughing and saying, kind of laugh at the president. That's not a joke you want to laugh at, because you know what? The women's team, all the women's teams, hockey and others, they won 67% of the medals for the United States. They won most of the medals, and they deserve a lot of credit and uplifting when a lot of women's sports don't get the resources and the attention that male sports get. Again, 2 things at once, right? It's not a left versus right. It's about right versus wrong. I think both teams deserve incredible praise for their grit, their hard work, representing the country very, very well. And I just hope that next time it doesn't happen the way it did. They did. They did.
Attend the State of the Union. They cited previous commitments and travel schedules, but they will not be there.
And Flava Flav put out a post today, and I love this. He said, well, I have an offer for you. We're going to do a big party in Vegas for the women's team. Dinner, hotel, all the casinos and stuff, some nice time at the resorts. He's working with an airline, I hope, and a travel company to get some of that funding for that. Good for him. I think he is the Olympian, the Olympics guy. Olympics guy, he's all that.
He has been the biggest advocate, supporter, booster for some of women's sports in the Olympics.
That's how you be an ally right there.
He has used money out of his own pocket to ensure that they have the resources they need to make it happen. So you can have your Snoop Dogg on the sideline at your Olympic Games.
Flav does the real stuff.
Is putting his money where his mouth is, literally.
He's so good. And again, he's a great artist. He, again, just his positivity has purpose behind it. He's not just the guy that goes, aw, shucks, let's be positive. No, he puts action behind the positivity. He uplifts people.
He says, yeah, boy. I can't do it right.
No,
I can't do justice to it.
No,
Melissa's
I won't even
Melissa,
try.
I see you laughing at me. I apologize in advance.
He is so good.
For everyone who did that. He's a treasure. He's an American treasure.
Yes.
So shout out to Flava Flav.
And again, I think you mentioned it, Chris, in the beginning of the show about the BAFTA award situation. I think, you know what, we have to learn from these moments, because incredible people, black actors who are getting an award, who are presenting an award, should not have to have that clip go viral or be exposed to that, no matter where it's coming from. And again, we the Tourette situation is awful too, but I just think those 2 wonderful actors that have been great stalwarts for acting and for the communities they represent, I don't think it's a good thing that they had to see that viral for the entire day, because BBC refused to cut that when they had plenty of time to cut actors making speeches when they were talking about genocides and malnutrition around the world. They cut that out, but they managed to put a racial slur in there. I'm sorry. I cannot get over this. Not to be too much of a scold tonight, but that bothers me. Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, true class acts, but they shouldn't have to go through that at any moment.
Hopefully a learning opportunity for
yes,
a lot of people.
Please.
Not only about Tourette syndrome, but
everybody involved.
Everybody involved, yeah. So obviously a tragic situation. Unfortunate situation. All right, we're going to leave you with this live picture from Hybla Valley. We're going to sign off. Updates to come on Fox 5 News at 10 tonight, right here on Fox Local. For Tony P, I'm producer Chris. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night.